So in this video, we're going to start to take a look at Bootstrap, which is a CSS library used to help you design professional looking web pages. And to help to demonstrate this throughout this section, we're going to work on a small little project where we're going to build up a company web page. And then after that, we can add in some backend functionality once we start to learn a little bit more about JavaScript. So I'm going to show you sort of how to make a web page that looks relatively nice. I'll preface this by saying I'm not really a designer. I'm more of a backend developer, so we'll make it look as nice as possible. And then hopefully with the tools that you learn in this, you'll be able to customize it as you please and make really beautiful looking web pages. So before we get started with Bootstrap, I need to show you how to actually get Bootstrap into your projects. That's actually a pretty simple and straightforward thing to do. What you're going to do is you're going to head over to the Bootstrap website. If you look up Bootstrap 5, you should find this getbootstrap.com. And inside of this, there's going to be two things that we need. It's going to be this CSS link here, and then this JS link here. And what you're going to do is you're going to copy these, and you're going to place them into the head of your index.html file. And any HTML files that use Bootstrap are going to need this as well. So what you'll see here is we have this link href, and we've looked at this before. This is a CSS file, right? So this is a CSS reference. And then we have this script tag. Now we haven't looked at the script tag yet, but what the script tag does is it allows us to include JavaScript code into our HTML file. Now we haven't talked about JavaScript either. JavaScript is the back-end language that's used for web development. So it includes things that actually make the website function and do things rather than just altering the appearance of the web page itself. So that's the idea of what JavaScript is. We're going to look at this a lot more in the next section, but that's just some general context about this script tag. You'll see it come up again once we start writing some JavaScript. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is the idea of div containers that have columns. And this is one of the main things that Bootstrap uses to help us create web pages. These columns are essentially a way of dividing up our web page into a grid, where we have various rows and columns. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to structure our page a lot better than having to, position things using a CSS tags like, center or right or left align. It gives us a little bit more granularity and lets us divide up our page more clearly. So let me show you a simple example of this. What we can do is we can add in a div. And what a div is it's essentially a division of code. It's a way of grouping similar sets of code together. And what we're going to do is we're going to give this a class. That class is going to be called row because it's going to indicate a single row of my web page. So this class is actually a Bootstrap class. So what's going to happen is when we put this class in, it's going to use this CSS file that we imported to apply the styles consistent with what Bootstrap considers to be a row. So that's how this is generally working through CSS. So when we get this, what we can do is we can add different things inside. And what we can do is we can divide up the web page into columns. So let me create two columns and I'll show you what that looks like. So we can say div class equals col. And then what we have is we have column 1, let's say. And then we'll add in a second column. We'll do div class equals col, and we'll say column 2. Okay, so this gives us two columns. Let me show you what that looks like. Let's go over here, and I have my web page open here. I'm going to refresh it. And you can see that column 1 takes up exactly half of the screen, and then column 2 takes up exactly half the screen. So what this has done is it's given us a way of being able to split our screen in half so that each section gets an equal amount of space. And this is really nice because we might want to divide up our web page into different sections, right? So each of these sections gets something different associated with it. And as we continue to add more of these columns, things get divided more and more, right? So we can have a third column, right? And if we were to do this, what would happen is we would get things every third, right? It gets divided into thirds instead of in half. So this is the way that we can divide things up using these columns. So this gives you a bit more of a way to sort of like align things on your web page. And that's one of the main things that we can do with Bootstrap. And one of the big features of it is this grid system, allowing us to do this. Now we can actually specify how large these columns are. And we can do that utilizing a variety of different classes. So let me make a new row here. I'll just copy this over and I'll show you what I mean by that. So generally, When we look at every single column, we're allocated with 12 column slots available to us. And the way that it works when we don't specify any additional arguments in the class is everything gets divided equally. So in this case, there are 12 possible slots and there's 3 columns. So each column gets 4 sort of sections, right? So it gets equally divided like that. But maybe I want one of the columns to be larger than the other. Now, if I want to do that, what I can do is I can specify the size that I want the column to be, as well as how many of these column sections I want it to take up. So for instance, I can put in SM, which means a small column, and then I can put 6. This would allocate 6 of my columns out of a possible 12 to this first column. And then just to show you what that ends up looking like, let's give the other an equal amount. So like I said, there's 12 possibles. So this would be 3, and then this could be 3. So let me show you what that looks like. Come back over here. And what you'll see is that the first one gets a lot more space, right? It gets 6 instead of 3, and then the other 2 get the remaining little bits of space here. So you can see that we can actually allocate specific lengths to each of these divs, right? So it's not just a matter of dividing things up equally, but you can also divide them specifically to say like, this one gets more space than the other one, right? So that is something that is really nice to be able to have as well. So understanding this, let's discuss how we can make something like similar to what you would see on a typical web page. What we could do is we can have like a simple row, and maybe I divide this up into 3 different sections, and maybe I can just add some content in, right? So I can say things like, I could put like a header in and say like, our product is the best. And then maybe we also put a paragraph tag inside of here as well that describes why our product is the best. Or we could just say something like, buy our product because it's awesome. Right? We could do something like this. And when we do this, we have both of these things contained inside of this first column. So what you're going to see is when we come over here, you can see that this first column gets the header and the paragraph. You see that they're all aligned with each other now. So that's one of the main perks of this sort of alignment. And I can do this with the other ones as well. And we'll go ahead and do that just to sort of keep with the theme of making a web page for a company. So we'll go for, let's say, something like used by industry professionals. So we could do something like this. We can add in, a paragraph tag and say, use what the pros use. And then again, we could do like one final one here. So inside of here, we can do something like, put in some headers, say like not happy, money back guaranteed. And then again, I can add in like a paragraph to help describe it. And we could say, we will 100% refund you if you are not happy. That gives us sort of like a simple like website that looks like something that a product would have, right? And what you'll see here is that everything gets aligned in their respective columns. So this is a really nice feature, of course, to help divide up our web page better. And this should help you understand the idea of one of the things that we're doing with Bootstrap, which is helping to set up the look of our web page. So that's everything that I wanted to cover in this video. In the next video, we're going to take a look at a few other Bootstrap related features that we can use to make our website look really nice. So thank you for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video.